Howdy doody everybody. In today's video we're going to be going through the rites of channeling, the gene stuff, all the stuff that you need to do to really level up your monster. Your monsters might have levels in the game, but they're kind of like a side thing, and you get them so easy. The way that you make your monsters stronger is by splicing them and getting into the lab and taking other monsters and taking abilities off of them and stuff like
Juicing them up.
Juicing them
Monsters
up.
on steroids. I don't condone steroids.
If you've ever watched the Jet Li film called The One, where there's like 1,000 of him and he has to take down the others to get himself stronger, that's basically what we're doing here, just with a monster version of that. So let's get a base explanation from you, because you're the explanation guy, of what rites of channeling is.
Sure. So rites of channeling, on a very, very basic level, you can see it as the ability to take a move from a monster that otherwise wouldn't have had that. Let's take Mizu's water beam and put it on something like a Glavenus, who is obviously typically using fire. You can use it to move moves across, which is kind of a cool thing. And if you don't want to go super deep, you can basically just do that. Be like, I'm just going to put a stupid move on an Aptonoth for the fun of it. But then if you go a layer deeper, it also a means to basically bolster what your monster can do. You can power up its attacks. You can give it coverage where it otherwise would be quite weak. And of course, you can then bolster it that way. So see it as a means to, you could kind of make it as a comparison to EV leveling your Pokemon. This is like the min-maxy thing. You don't have to do this. You can play throughout the whole game, completely ignore it. But this is a really cool system that once you get to end game, this is what's going to keep you playing, basically. This is going to become part of your end game. So don't sleep on this system, basically.
Yeah, it's basically, if I was to sum it up, it's like having an ability board in a game where you're playing any RPG, but you can take any ability off of any monster. It's you can take mismatch and stuff like that, so it's really cool. So that grid that you can see in the bottom right hand corner, that's your ability board, but imagine you can just grab an ability from any other monster in the game. So this baggie right here, I can grab it off. But firstly, let's talk about genes so that you have an understanding of that. So let's back out of this menu. Our favourite cat friend is there, and he's talking about the expedition. Let's not worry about that. By the way, we're not going to cover everything in this video, but this is a crash course to get you guys up to speed and kind of show you how I would build a monster, and so that you can have an understanding of it. If you want more of an explanation, we're going to have that over on the main channel for you guys to go over and watch all of that stuff. But one of the things that you should really get used to is going into the field guides, and this is where it's going to have a bunch of information about your monsters. If we start off in the Monsterpedia, firstly, you're going to see that right here it's got a bunch of basic stats for how you can build your monsters. So we've got max HP, we've got speed, we've got recovery, we've got crit rate, and this stuff means that you can kind of really spec into what you want to. So this one, maybe you might want to max out the recovery and the HP so that your monster is way more tanky or something like that. But with say something like this Velocidrome, you might want to up the crit rate a little bit and max it out and max out the speed so you're hitting crits a lot of the time and getting your moves off faster, because speed essentially allows you to take your turns faster than other people. If we tab over one more time, you're going to see all of the elemental breakdowns here, and we've got our attack, we've got our different ones, which is fire, water, lightning, ice, and dragon element. And you can see here that the non-elemental one, which is the grey ball-bearing looking one, that shows off that that's going to be the most damaging attack type, and the monster will always default to its strongest element's attack, if you get what I'm saying. So if you've boosted your fire attack super high for some reason, and you've made it overtake your non-elemental damage, then it will just automatically do that. And one really cool thing before we get into building the monsters is if you spec in a move such as a one that only takes 8 kinship points to execute, and you spawn in, your monster will always automatically do that for free rather than doing a just a basic attack. So that's something to also consider before we really get into it. Then this is where the spice comes in. So these are all the genes. You can see that I've got 359 unlocked, and there's 398, and there's going to be more added as DLC comes out and new monsters come in, because they all have their own specific stuff in here. Do you want to talk through the gene types, and I'll scroll through as you talk through them.
Yeah, sure. So obviously, yeah. So like 26 mentioned, you have the different elements. So your genes will fall within those categories. Now, there's a couple of different things to keep in mind. Obviously, the color dictates the types. So you've got fire, you've got water, thunder, ice, things like that. But then on top of that, you'll also have the attack type. Don't forget, you have power, speed, and technical. Power beats technical, technical beats speed, speed beats power. So when you're specing out your monster, you need to think about both of these things because you want to bolster the elemental side of things, and you also want to factor in, the types that you ideally want to have good type coverage. So you can see that all these genes fall into different categories. Some of the ones we see on screen, you can see they've got a little sort of strongman icon. That is, of course, your power one. We've got a little running man. We've got that. Also, genes come in different sizes, much like you would expect if you play Monster Hunter. Attack up small, attack up medium, attack up large, XL. So it goes without saying, XL is better. You can tell that also by the border. Sometimes you'll get these from like really, really good hatches and things like that. So this is going to be important because you're going to want to use this to fill in the gaps in your monsters. And the nice thing is, thanks to this book, because if we didn't have this book, this would be a royal pain. But you can basically just look at it and be like, where does this cool skill come from? And it literally tells you on the right hand side. By compatible monster, it doesn't mean this is the skill you can put into it. That's basically the wording of saying this is the monster that it comes from. So see it as like, I want to find this, look on the right.
Yeah. After a while, you farm so much. Like, after grinding this game, you know which genes, even though there's 398 genes in there, I know where, like, basically every single gene comes from once you actually hit the grind. So you get used to it in no time. If you want to see more information on what that ability does as well, you can press Y anytime on them to see how much it does. So the information that we have here is, like, Tailspin, it deals light non-elemental damage to all enemies. So this is an AoE attack that does light damage, so it won't do like crazy damage, and that goes all the way up to massive, but heavy is commonly where you're going to set out. Heavy or medium is where you're going to set out for damage, and obviously the heavier the damage attack, the more kinship gauge it usually takes on that monster as well. So this is where I was talking about on the right, where it's got that little 16 there. Normally monsters come in with like about below like 20 for their kinship gauge as you get into the battle as well. So if you're playing PvP, it's 15. So if you have an attack that only uses 9, it will automatically use that attack once you come out in like PvP or in like a PvE scenario battle as well. So bear that in mind when you're picking up these attacks as well. And you have passive skills as well. Let me see if I can find one right here. Let me go to non-elemental because you probably can find like self-heal or something like that. So you have passive genes such as self-heal that will heal you after each turn as well. So these are not ones that you have to activate, but then you also have genes that you have to activate as well, which are usually attacks as well. So that's really cool. But let's hop back into the stable. And this is how you get to the rites of channeling. Don't be too scared. Mess around with your monsters as you're building them, and try to figure out all of that stuff as you go through the game. But you need to take your time and build your stuff. You will be seeing some monsters that you may not know are in the game. I should have said that maybe at the front end of the video. But if you want to avoid like seeing any crazy monsters, then definitely chill out and step back and maybe revisit this video at a later date. But this is the best way that I could show you off like how to build your monsters well, and you should really care about this more towards like the end of the game. But I know some of you guys are gonna start building your monsters throughout the game as well, so this will be good for you to learn. And I definitely did start messing around with stuff, and it makes your monsters really like OP towards the end. So we're going to be building a Mizu here because I just want one. I think one of my favorite fated fours monsters out here. But let's explain some of the stuff, and if you were to explain some tips to people straight off the bat, what would it be, Alex?
So I think the first thing you want to sort of do is, when you're looking at the gene map in the corner, you want to ideally look for kind of like an open map, because some monsters have got lots of like padlocks. You can unlock all these slots. Keep in mind, some slots are unlocked just by hitting certain levels, and if that's the case, it'll say like level 15 on it or level 30. Whenever you see a padlock like this, though, it requires a specific item, which you can then also use through the Rite of Channeling mode. So, it doesn't mean to say if a monster has padlocks, you shouldn't use it, but generally speaking, if you just want to like, if you've got, say, 5 of the same monster and one of them just got a really nice open map, it just means it's a lot easier to start playing with. You can just very easily start just like slotting things in without even having to worry. So I'd say initially just like pick your monster based on the actual monster itself, and then maybe just sort of see which one has the best open layout, and then start using that to assess what you're missing, because obviously you're going to then look at it and be like, all right, what gaps do I need to fill here? And also you want to start thinking about how you can get your power-ups, because obviously bingo is a really important system to explaining this. If you can see, like in this baggy example, you can see that by having things lined up in either vertical, horizontal, or diagonal, you can basically get bonuses, and that applies both based on elemental color and also attack type. So you can see on the top line, you've got a power bingo because it's 3 strong men together, but you can see you've also got a water bingo because you've got 3 blue. So the blue one on this situation goes horizontally and twice vertically. Obviously, if you unlocked it, you have more potential. So this is really where you want to start thinking, right?
Yeah, definitely. So here, this baggy isn't too optimal because you'd essentially want a strongman bingo and a power bingo both like diagonally and horizontally, and like all the way around. And obviously, as Alex said, there were slots that were locked there as well, so you definitely don't want to mess around with this baggy too much, because it is quite costly at the moment as you're leveling through the game to unlock these things. But towards the end game, you're going to freely be able to just grab those stimulants, as they call, to unlock the slots that you need, which is really great. So how do you grab a skill? So firstly, I'm going to look at what Mizu is good at. I know he's water element and stuff like that, but we're going to look at what abilities are his innate abilities, his intrinsic abilities. And here we got like Bubble Flurry, so we know that this is a Mizu attack because we don't really see this anywhere else. And we've got Bewitching Bubbles as well, which is one that kind of debuffs the enemy team and does a little bit of damage. And we've got Water Breath. So these are kind of like Mizu's like start abilities, bread and butter abilities that he starts with. So we know that these 2 are blue, and critical healing is good, synchronize is good, and self-heal is good, but they're all like large or small. We kind of really want excel or higher abilities. If I wanted to level up this ability, which is another trait that you can do in this game, I would have to grab another Mizu and basically splice that Mizu in to get to upgrade its inherent abilities, which is really good. But let's go find some water stuff to really just grab and see if we can splice some stuff in and see what things are going on here. So we've got Evasion Instincts. So Evasion Instincts will increases your chances of, if we go here, greatly boosts your evasion chance or evasion at 50% HP or less. So this means that if you're in PvP, there's a chance that the enemy might miss, which is huge in PvP. So if we wanted to grab this ability, all we have to do is click on the monster, and you can see here, as soon as we do this, we'll get a bingo in the right hand, the left hand diagonal corner in the top left there. So that's huge, right? But we can put this into any spot that we wanted to. In Monster Hunter Stories 1, you couldn't move it into any spot, but now you can move it into any spot. So we're going to just throw this in, and we're going to give our Mizu some evasion.
Yep, and you can see, of course, by looking at the right-hand side, you obviously have, for anyone that doesn't remember the numbers, whenever you hover over and you start lining things up, you'll see the power bonus you got. So you'll see that because we've got a bingo of blue, we got a 10% increase to water damage, which is fantastic. And obviously, this does increase the more you stack. There are diminishing returns, but basically, if ever you're in a position where you need to, or you're unsure, what's this going to be doing? Pay attention to the kind of the channeling results on the right hand side, and that will show you if you're bolstering your element or if you're bolstering your attack type, things like that. So already we've got a decent. We've got 1 bingo, and we've only just started.
Yeah, so there's another evasion skill or like damage skill called Dancer. This increases your speed at full HP. So we're gonna grab that, and we're gonna make our Mizu a speedy boy, a slippery and speedy boy with
Slippery biscuit.
with extra increased attack. And we're going to put this into the top right section. And then now we've got that skill. And that has been taken off a red Kezu, which is very nice. So you've got like an ability of a Kezu. So these are kind of more general skills that we're slotting in, which is really great.
Also important to note as well, just in case people, I mean, hopefully you already know this anyway, but just the way I always describe it is think of channeling as Control X to cut and not copy. When you do that and you take that ability from Kezu, Kezu is gone, no longer exists. So don't suddenly think I'm just copying this ability. If you've been doing that, know that the monster you're taking it from is gone. I'm not going to say what happens to it. I'm hoping it doesn't die, but whatever. Just remember that.
It dead. It dead.
He dead. He gone. He gone.
Dead. So here's a good opportunity to show off like the leveling ability. So these abilities go up to, you can upgrade them twice. And the way that you do that is grab another Mizu that you can get out there. You can farm off even like basic ones. It doesn't need to be like a rainbow or anything crazy if you just want to grab the basic stuff. Some of the abilities require you to level them up before you can do that. There are places that you can go out into the open world and easily do that to level up your monsters because there's a XP bonus, but all you need to do is grab it and place it on top of the same ability, and there you can level it up.
Boom.
You can actually skip this cutscene by pressing the plus button, even though it doesn't have a notification in the
Wait,
bottom.
really? This whole time I've been sitting here thinking I've been pressing the normal buttons, but just didn't press plus.
So if we go to Water Gene, you're going to see that this has been upgraded, and it tells you what it actually does. So it's kind of vague for some of the stuff where it says like power and rate. We don't know what power and rate is, but we can guess that it does increase damage and has increased chance to like lower speed or something like that, or essentially that. But some of the ones are just plainly obvious, and it'll be like, oh, it increases the amount of turns that you get, or I don't know, like increases the time or whatever, substantial, or greatly increases or substantially increases the amount of health that you get or the damage it does. It will plainly state that, which is pretty good. Yes. So let me show you some examples of other bingos as well and some other monsters as we go through some stuff. So here you can see this Paolumu's got the grey bingo, which is pretty cool, but it's got also the technical bingo. So this is what you kind of really want to do when you're lining up your skills. You want your attack bingo and you want your skill bingo, your elemental bingo, should I say, more so. So you can get both, and then you want to line that up across the whole grid, which is a bit of a madness. So for me, I haven't optimally done my Teostra, but this guy hits hard. You can see here, this is kind of like a endgame Teostra where I've doubled up my skills. I've got a bunch of like fire bingos popping off, and I've got like a bunch of strength or attack type ones. And with Teostra being a power type is very good, but a lot of the time you kind of want to mix and match skills as well. So you don't necessarily just want to have an attack type. You want to have, like, if you're doing PvP at least, you want to have like some speed attacks on there, you want to have some technical attacks on there, so you have those options to kind of really fool the enemy that you're playing against, or have that ability to win those head-to-heads, because if you just got an attack, it's going to be super telegraphed and they're going to know what you're doing as well. So definitely build towards that as well. And as I said, in the bottom right hand corner of the actual icon, you can see if they're like inherently a technical type, a speed type, or a power type, and then you know where to kind of really go from there as well, in terms of building your monsters out. Is there anything that you really wanted to add, Alex?
I think the other main thing just to touch on is rainbow genes, because rainbow genes are really important because obviously they basically become whatever you want them to be, right? Yeah. So in a situation, sometimes you won't have to use them. Like the Teostra you just had was great because it's like you're going heavily into fire, right? But in a situation like Mizu, for example, where some of the inherent abilities do dance between different element types and different colors, then this would be a great situation, because say if you were trying to get a yellow bingo and you were trying to get like a non-elemental bingo and a water bingo, if you put the rainbow right in the middle, then for the blues it'll become a blue, for the powers it becomes a power, for the elementals it becomes non-elementals it becomes whatever you need it to be. So typically you'll place rainbows in the middle. There are select situations where you might place them somewhere else depending on what your layout is, but effectively this will now allow you to bingo with different colours.
Yeah, so you can see there in the bottom left-hand corner, I've got a yellow attack there, and then I've bingoed it with a blue speed, basically blue speeds across the board. So that's one of the ways that you can bingo. But you can mess around with this a lot and figure out how it works for you. But the rainbow gene is basically so that you can just bingo with different stuff, which is really cool. And essentially, there, if you're looking to farm out your abilities, just grab monsters from the world, go into your dens, make sure that you're farming as much as possible because you're going to need them. Get duplicates. I know in these hunting games or these not hunting games, these capturing games and these like monsty games that you normally just get like one for your Pokédex or whatever you want to call it. Kind of just leave it at that. But in this one, you're definitely going to want multiples of the monster. And I think it's a really good system for you to kind of get in there. But hopefully that explained everything.
Yeah, I think the only last thing to touch on is just I mean, again, this should be pretty self-explanatory from the way that we explained it before, but just so people know, once you play something, you can't move it. The only way you could technically move it would be by taking that gene off of that monster. So obviously just think before you go, because say for example we had this Mizutsune that we've been building up and it's like level 47, we put a load of things in we like and we're like, oh no, I put the rainbow gene in the wrong place. The only way to move that would be to either put something on top of it or basically take it off, and then in doing so you would lose Mizu. So just remember, once the gene is slotted, you can't move it.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Some good skills to look out for are there's one called that is all status resistance. I think it's called Pankio or something. I can't remember what it is actually called. Very good. Health up is decent if you want to boost your monsters. I'm not too sure about critical up, because while I've put critical up on my monster, I don't know how much is boosting it, because it doesn't seem to increase the rate of critting as much, and there are moves out there that just like clomp anyway and have high critical chance. So you get moves that are just like literally always has a high chance of hitting a critical hit. There's moves from certain monsters that are just crazy damaging, so look out for Nurg's skills. Farm out Nurg. There's a ability there. There's Avengeful Thunder is very good, comes from Astalos, has a high chance to inflict paralysis and all of these like really cool skills, and does like extra damage if you're on low health. What other abilities am I really using? There's Bombing Run, that's on some of the other monsters that kind of inflicts like Blast Bite and all of that stuff, and it's really, really good. There's a monster in there that I'm not going to spoil for you guys, but charges up the electricity, pumps up massively, and you can take that ability from this very, very strong monster and put it onto your electrical type monsters and cause some real destruction out there. So definitely think about doing that, and maybe think about placing your light attacks in there as well. If you're looking to unlock the slots that are locked, then you have to buy. The easiest way to do them is to go to the bottle cap vendor, and from there you can just buy the stimulants to unlock the slots as well, which is very good. Yeah. Let's just talk through some of these monsters here as an example, because I did set these up and I don't want to waste my time of obviously like setting them up and doing everything. So this Glav right here, fire bingo bonus, huge. Obviously my Teostra, which I've just unfavorited, add like a really nice bingo there. This is obviously a fire and strength bingo. This is one of the examples of the rainbow bingo here that you can see that I've kind of just meshed up, which is really good. And you can see that it's in a completely different place than where we put it in Mizu. We're not essentially sure where is the most optimal place to put it yet, but we will find that out and we'll do a follow-up video for you later. Here you can see an upgraded skill in the middle, and this is an Excel upgraded skill. So this is Protection Divine Blessing. Oh, this is a very good skill, by the way. Definitely do this. Like, Divine Blessing procs so much, and it saved me so much times in like PvP battles that I've had, so definitely think about having that. And then obviously you can see another ice and rainbow bingo there as well. Well, the ice and the strength bingo there, which is really cool. Yes. Yeah. Is there any monsters there in particular that you're thinking about like boosting up and making crazy?
So I wanna boost up a Glavenus for sure. Yeah. I also, maybe kind of partly after just like getting defeated by your one in PvP the other day, but I do really like Emerald Congalala. Like, I've always just liked the apes anyway, but Emerald because he's kind of got the cool horn. Yeah. Definitely that one. And I just the other day picked up an Astalos, so there's a few things that I wanna sort of work on.
I think Emerald Congalala will be kind of nasty for PvP because it's got stench on it, like a load of his moves revolve around stench, which means that you can't use items, which is a huge part of the PvP in this game. So definitely, yeah, spec into that and make sure that you upgraded core abilities, and then you can go farm out that where.
And of course,
find it.
Laggy Acris. Laggy is going to become a main for me. Laggy's a really nice one. You might want to look into as well because he's got some very nice paralysis moves. And paralysis, especially if any of you guys get to a point in the game and you start struggling with bosses, get a monster that has paralysis. It will make this a walk in the park. Sometimes they will get paralyzed for so many turns and they just can't move. And I'm like, this is great. So yeah, don't sleep on that.
Oh yeah, there's obviously loads of monsters out there like Laggy as well. Laggy is really good because he comes with like Thunder Excel, which is kind of like the Excel element abilities are kind of ones that you essentially want on your monsters as well. So that's a very good one to have. But you guys can tell me what crazy amalgamation of monsters that you're gonna make. If you're gonna make a Aptonoth with like all Glav attacks or something like that, or an Aptonoth with all Nergigante like attacks or some craziness like that. Tell me what your dream and your aspirations are for.
That's going to be the scary thing. Every time you go in PvP and someone's got an Aptonoth, you're like, oh, what have you done to this thing?
Aptonoth is going to come up and beat people up. It's going to be amazing. Yep. Anyway, guys, I think that's it. I think we covered most of what you need to know about, well, essentially everything that you need to know to start building. We'll follow up with more videos about being optimal. Don't forget we have a video on the main channel just going over this in a different way. But I thought we'd give you a nice little crash course and talk you through with two of the buddies and give you that lesson, you know, so you know what's up and like how we're building our ones. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like and subscribe, and see you guys later. Bye bye.
See you later.
Hey guys, thanks for watching. Don't forget you can subscribe so you don't miss another video.